Di here, and you're watching Your Voice Matters TV with Di Riddell, the place to be for your voice to be heard. Today, I have a wonderful guest, an amazing lady on the show with us. She is just the bee's knees, Annette Densham. I've met this lady a couple of times over the last few years, and I'm so impressed by her openness, her honesty, and her integrity. So Annette has come from a journalist background, and she's taken those skills across to support and empower people in so many ways, as I've watched her online over these last couple of years. But, you know, as a background, Annette had a mum who was a gypsy. By the time she'd reached 17 years of age, she'd moved 96 times. So, you know, books at the library became her friend. So then that love of words, I would guess, led her into journalism. So today we're going to be looking at family secrets. How dangerous can they be? How dangerous are they? And how many do we keep? So for my guest today, would everyone, you know, I really give you such a lovely, warm welcome, Annette. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Lovely to have you as my guest.
Thank you, Di. And I was really chuffed when you asked me. So thank you.
I think, you know, the support that we have between women and the connections that we make online and offline, but you know, lately they've all been online, have just been tremendous. And if we can do something and change the world and make our little difference, I just think that's amazing. And I so love what I see and hear from you.
Oh, thank you. I'm a big believer that a rising tide lifts all ships. And as much as I would like to be retired with lots of money in my bank, I feel that there's almost a service that I can provide with sharing my knowledge to help other people, because I remember being new to business and everything was just out of my price range. So I thought, well, I don't want to be one of those people. I want to share as much as I can. And when they're ready, if they want to work with me, then, you know, we've developed a really good relationship.
Yeah. And I think that's what people forget sometimes. It's about the relationship and the trust that you build up as you get to know somebody.
Absolutely. You know, life is about relationships, but particularly in business, the important thing is to build, you know, that likability, let people get to know you, let people, you know, learn to trust you. And then when they're ready to do business with you, it's easier because, you know, they're already warm, you know each other. There's, you know, there's a connection.
And that is so true. But what a shame that doesn't always apply to family.
Oh, gosh. You know,
it's different scenario, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, there's a saying, you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family.
Yeah, you're stuck with your family. Yeah. Yep. So, you know, coming up with this topic of family secrets about how dangerous they can be, I know things that have happened in my family, but I would love to hear what you've got to say on the subject.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I wrote a chapter for a book at the end of last year that was published in April this year. The book was called I Fly. It is called I Fly, and it's an anthology of 20 stories. And when I saw the opportunity to come up, and it was great, like it was a paid opportunity, but you got coaching from, you know, like an outstanding book coach, and oh my gosh, like she made me a much better writer. But I thought, oh, you know, I'll tell the story about, you know, like when I was bullied as a kid. And as I started to write, it was like came out of nowhere. So I'm almost speechless. It came out of nowhere, this experience that I'd had with my grandfather when I was 12. And, you know, I lived with my grandparents from the age of 10 to 16. Because mum was a gypsy, we never really had a lot of money. Like we were poor. And, we'd often share houses with people, and, something would go wrong and mum pack up and we'd end up somewhere else, and it was just, 96 times around and around.
Which would make it really difficult for schooling and creating friends.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, very much so. Like I'm having counselling now to, kind of deal with, things that I didn't realise were a real problem with how I show up for people. It's like I want to be liked, and that comes from that time of always being the new kid and always being the new kid who was taller and bigger than everybody else. So I had to find ways to get people to like me. Not so much now. I'm a bit older and, I'm going through menopause and I don't really care anymore. It's not that I don't care. It's that I can't change how people think about me. My friend once said, whether people not love you or hate you, it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what someone else says is none of your business.
Yeah, and I totally get that now. But, when I was 10, we had been living in Queensland for about 3 years. We fled from Tasmania when I was 7 because Mum had again picked another really inappropriate man, and he was on the week that we fled to Queensland was arrested by the police and charged with fraud. He'd been ripping off a not-for-profit organisation, but he was also a really cruel and violent man. And later in life, Mum had told me that he used to hold her at gunpoint because he was that possessive of her, that if she went out and she came home, he just concocted all of these stories about where she was. So when he was arrested, Mum had been planning. Like, I didn't know this when I was 7, but, when I was older, it was like, I said, Mum, what happened there? And she packed us up. We were on a plane to Queensland within a couple of days and had moved in with my mother's friend in Brisbane. So she was doing it really tough, trying to raise 2 kids on her own. She really didn't have any skills, so she did a lot of menial house cleaning work, stuff that really didn't pay much. So my grandparents offered to sell their house and move up to Brisbane to be there for my sister and I. So it was pretty exciting times because, we went with Mum to help look for the house, and we found this awesome house at the Gap, and it was massive and it had a pool and a big yard, and there was kids on that side, there was kids on that side, there was kids up the street, and we were like, oh my God, this is like, we were so excited, and we were going to get our own rooms. Like, we'd been sharing. My sister's 2 years younger than me, and she was a pain in the butt when I was a kid. So it was like, oh my God, I don't have to share with her anymore. So I'm really excited.
I can sense your excitement. I can feel it.
I was so excited. So it was all right for a couple of years, and then we went away on holidays. It was like school holidays, Christmas, because we went up to the Sunshine Coast, and my nan had gone to have a lie down, and my sister was in the bedroom doing something. And I love books. Just whenever you'd find me, I'd have my nose in a book. I still would if I didn't have to work. And I was sitting in the lounge room. My grandfather was watching the cricket. And when you kind of like know that something's wrong in the room, and like I've looked around and he was there playing with himself and looking at me while he was doing it. And like I still remember now the fear, that feeling that you get in your stomach.
I do.
And I've I didn't know what to do. And I left, I ran. And that continued for a number of years. I did everything I could. I didn't tell anyone. I found out he was doing it to my sister and her friend. I didn't tell anyone because there was just this real sense that you don't talk about stuff like that. No one ever said anything, but, even at 12, 13, I knew that if I said something, that the shit had hit the fan. And then I felt that I would get blamed because my mother was incredibly stressed and, on edge. And she would often, if you did something wrong, she liked to scream. So she would scream at you, and then she wouldn't talk to you for days. And I used to beg her to talk to me. I'd write her poems and letters and just trying to get her to be my friend again. So I didn't say anything. until one day Mum was going off ahead of us and I just blurted it out. And to Mum's credit, we'd packed up and we'd moved within days again. But we never talked about it again. Like, Mum never asked me if we were okay. She never asked my sister what had happened. You know, nobody ever said anything to my grandfather. And I was always left with this feeling of being betrayed. That
it's a betrayal of your innocence, isn't it?
Yeah, that I'd said something. I'd finally said something. I would have been 15. That I'd finally said something, and
that would take courage to say that. Like you say, it was probably because you were in that state that you were able to, like you say, blurt it out.
Yeah, I did blurt it out. I'm a big blurter. And then I blurt. And so, like, Mum died 15 years ago last month, and to this day, well, to the day she died, no one said anything. It was always this secret, and even my sister and I didn't talk about it. You know, it was just, it lurked there, and I know that it's impacted her life, and I know that it impacted my life. And luckily I'm surrounded by incredibly enlightened people who've helped me a lot over the years with healing and working it through. And that's why I said to you, what a good topic, because it's so dangerous when we don't talk about these things. Like, it's horrible, isn't it? Like, even sitting there telling you,
it's awful.
It's horrible.
There will be someone watching this show who will be in that position.
Yeah.
There will be someone out there saying, I know how that feels. God, she's talking about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
my sister passed away, I don't know, about 18 months, 2 years ago. Now, she was 10 years older than me. On her, and she had always had an attitude, and I couldn't understand why it was that she behaved like she did with me. On her deathbed, she had something she had to tell only me. She had a family secret that she'd hidden for 70 years.
Wow.
And it was just like that relief and that peace with that I just saw come over her. And you think, why did she hang on? And it had nothing to do with me, but it was something that she was made do in looking after me when I was a kid that she was resentful of. And she carried that for 70 years.
Yeah, like what
and
type
now
of
I really
implication?
get what you're saying.
Yeah, what the health implications. Like, I have Hashimoto's. So my immune system's attacked my thyroid, and it packed up, went to Barbados without me. And, you know, and as a result, you know, I find it hard to lose weight. I'm tired, my hair, like, there's a whole lot of things that come with that disease.
Yeah.
And I remember telling a friend many years, because, like, this isn't something that I've really ever talked, like, this is the first time I've ever, like, spoken and been recorded. Like, I wrote a book about it, but it's different when you articulate it. But my counsellor says to me that, I've got better out than internet. So this is me talking about it. But I was telling a girlfriend, and I just kind of touched on some stuff that happened to me as a kid. And she's a nutritionist. And she went, you know what? You're a thyroid problem waiting to happen. The stress that you've carried through your life. And how many people out there are living with that stress and that burden? Many. Like,
and we don't understand the effect that stress has on us. We don't understand how dangerous it is. And those family secrets, when they're simmering away inside of us, we don't know it's there. It's sitting in the background and waiting for a catalyst, and then it will, like you did, you know, the blurt. Something will happen and out it will come. And often in an inappropriate time, way, manner.
I'm laughing because I inappropriately dropped it in a family Facebook group. Like, boom, Hiroshima in
well
a
done, girl.
Facebook. Yeah, so like and these are family members that I haven't seen since I was a kid. You know, like cousins and uncles and great cousins. Is that such a thing?
Second cousins.
Like my second cousins, that's the word I was looking for. And I thought, well, you know, like, I can't ring all of these people. One, I don't know their phone number. I actually really don't know them, but I'm putting a book out, which is quite public, about someone in their family. So I'm going to share with them. So I dropped it in there, and it was really interesting, the response that I got.
Yep.
Silence predominantly. No one said anything. I'm not surprised because I dropped a bomb on them. But a couple of my cousins, two of them private messaged me and said, "Oh my God, I didn't know. Are you okay? Can we do anything for you?" And one of them said, "Why would you choose to do this now? Like, why would you bring all of this up?" And I went, "Because I need to heal."
Yeah.
And if it was basically it, I need to heal. And I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable, but you know what? That man got away with this.
That's right. And you don't know, you wouldn't have known whether he may have done that to somebody else.
But like my mother, I look at my mother's life
Yeah.
and the choices that she made with men and the choices she made with just life in general. Like she was always seen to me to be in pain. Even as a kid, I thought that how sad my mother was. And who's to say that he didn't do the same thing to her? And my grandmother used to treat my mother so badly. She was so horrible to my mother. So when we lived together, my poor mum lived, so we had this big 3-bedroom house, but downstairs was open, but my grandfather enclosed this room. It was just a concrete floor, enclosed it with fly screen, and that's where my mum lived. And it was so freaking cold in winter. I'd go down there and she'd be in bed with a dressing gown and a blanket and the heater because she couldn't just sit in a chair and she wasn't welcome upstairs. So I often wonder if my grandmother saw her as a threat.
And that's the whole thing. It comes back to the family secrets, the things that were suppressed, not talked about. And then it becomes a generational thing.
Yeah, and it does, doesn't it? It's like this little secret monkey on your back.
Yeah. And you don't know that it's there, and you think, what is this? What's happening? And it's the unspoken thing. So, we say communicate, we say talk, we say respect and look after each other. And I think now that things are starting to bubble up and people are, we're getting this raised consciousness and people are talking about stuff. And I think it's really good because it's releasing, it's allowing people to heal. But it's not going to happen if we don't do our bit and step up.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that worries me, Di, though, is that we live in this world where we're saying, okay, step up, speak your truth, your voice matters. And yet, on the other hand, that's being squished down by people are going, you're triggering me, it's upsetting, I can't do, and I get there on their journey. But, how do we help people confront that and go, it's icky and horrible.
Until they're ready, we can't. They have to be ready.
I guess we have to put trigger warnings on things and say, okay, we're going to be talking about sexual abuse here.
Yeah.
Don't listen if it's going to trigger you.
If it upsets you, yes. And I think that's the only thing that you can do, because quite often it will be an event that something will happen that will trigger it. My triggering, going back to face my stuff, was the death of my husband. So each of us will have a different trigger. Something will happen that will most times force you to look at something. Yeah. And then you have a choice whether you step into that or not. And I took that choice when my sister was dying to allow her to speak whatever it was. I had no idea what she was going to say, but to give her the opportunity, because she obviously had something she needed to get off her chest. And I'm so glad she did, because it gave her peace in her dying days.
Yeah. If only she'd done that 50 years ago,
we would have had a much better relationship.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why secrets are bad, because it ruins so much. I guess there's some secrets that you don't tell, but
there's secrets and secrets.
Yeah.
The secrets that we're talking about, and it's the manner that they're dealt with.
Yeah.
How you bring it up, how you discuss it with people. And,
don't drop it in a family Facebook group.
Don't drop it in the family Facebook. But I found a lot of things out as the older generation passed away, and mixing with cousins who I hadn't had a lot to do with. they start to talk about things that happen in their branch of the family, and it's suddenly stuff that happens in life makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It allows those like ding, ding,
Oh,
ding.
now I see.
Yeah, I understand why that person's like that. Like I now understand why my mother was the way that she was, because she was a damaged human being that didn't have an opportunity to deal with her burden.
And if our parents didn't have the skills to be able to deal with their stuff, how can they then possibly parent a child and bring them up with a healthy relationship? You know, it just can't happen. So we've got the opportunity to turn that around now and see what it is. But there's still stuff going on in my family that I can't do anything about. And sometimes you just have to accept that that's where it is. And that's what I'm doing, because I was hurting. I can't change what's happening. So I have to change how I deal with it.
That's very wise.
That's it. That's how it is. I can't change it. So I can only make the difference where I can. And that's what I'm aiming to do. And I believe that that's what you do too. So I'm so pleased that you were so open. So as a parting shot about family secrets before we close, is there one last tip that you'd like to give us?
I think that if you are dealing with something in your family, that there's something you want to tell, then have a practice run, like write it out or record, pick up your phone and record it, because I guess sometimes we don't even, I can't confront my grandfather now, he's dead. But by writing that book and writing my story, I was able to work through that myself and go, okay, I actually need a little bit of help to get through this, because we do compartmentalize, we squish things down. So for me, it was like better out than in. So my suggestion is write it down or record it. Maybe share it with a friend, because while you may not go and drop it in a family Facebook group like I did, sometimes just that sharing is cathartic and healing when you know that someone else understands what your burden is.
Well, thank you, Annette. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show today. And thank you for your openness in sharing parts of your family history and looking at the danger of family secrets, the harm it can do generationally. So thank you so much. It's been lovely having you with me.
Thanks, Di. Thanks for having me on.
You're an angel. So in closing, you have been watching Your Voice Matters TV with Di Riddell. Remember that your voice is your human gift. It's a gift that will go on giving if you allow it. Let yourself be heard. Speak up. Cheerio. Until next episode.